Is it ever possible to be too strong? Traits like strength, resilience, and adaptability are praised by many, but can you be strong to a fault? Ex-England footballer turned pundit Alex Scott explores her relationship to strength in how to not be strong, especially as a black woman in sport. She explores sport as a tool for becoming stronger, how to balance being strong with being vulnerable, and also how your strength can impact people beyond yourself. Part 1. Sport as a tool for growth. From the start, it's clear that sport expanded Alex Scott's horizons and allowed her to develop character. She said, "I was making friends with all these kids from different backgrounds, learning so much about life." Sport was also the reason that she needed a passport, so clearly it allowed her to travel. She was a young, working-class girl who lived on a council estate who connected with all sorts of people through sport. She also says that she had an I'll show you attitude when coaches gave her feedback. So clearly she loved bettering herself when people gave her work-ons. All of this shows that sport made Scott physically and mentally stronger. But sometimes she was too strong. Part 2. Balancing strength with vulnerability. Alex Scott's home life was chaotic. Earlier on in the book she said, "I bottled everything up and shut down." She had a really abusive father that affected her for a long time. She says that all I wanted was that security you're supposed to get from parents. But that security and stability that she didn't get at home, she found in sport. Where her home life was unpredictable, sport was predictable. Where her home life was chaotic, sport was structured. Where her home life was dangerous, sport was safe. She says that football was the space I used to escape from my emotions. The abuse left scars on her mind long after the scars on her body had healed. She managed to escape from that environment and build a better life. Football, TV, punditry. But the downside of that was that a lot of the people in these better conditions hadn't made the same journey that she had. She couldn't necessarily relate to them in the same way. So the people from her present couldn't relate to her past, and the people from her past couldn't relate to her present. This created a structural loneliness that she explores in the book. She said, "I hadn't been given a space to discuss or process the impact of my childhood because it was always too raw for the people around me. We just had to keep it going." But eventually it all caught up with her. At one point she says, "I had everything, but felt empty." So she did a timeline of her life and everything that had impacted her, and she got into therapy. The therapy allowed her to make sense of the emptiness. It made sense. She'd never been able to share her story with people around her. And how can you be happy if people don't truly know you? And how can people truly know you if you never let them in? Eventually, she did become more comfortable with vulnerability. She learned how to pour into her own cup. And when your own cup is full, that's when it's easier to pour into others. Which takes us to our final point. Part 3. Sport as a tool for impact. Alex was always strong, and she was constantly aware of the positive impact she could have. On her first TV appearance, she said, "I wasn't just representing myself, I was shining a light on our sport at a time when the women's side wasn't getting the most coverage." She says, "I find it incredible that simply through football or being on TV, I have the opportunity to help out others with issues I've personally gone through." In a way, she gets to heal a younger version of herself and make it easier for the next generation coming after her. She says, "My purpose has been reframed from playing football to being able to help people through football in a different way." Now her cup is overflowing, she can pour into others, balancing strength, softness, and vulnerability, all while making real impact. In conclusion, Alex Scott shows us the inner world of an athlete with a traumatic background and the problem with being too strong for too long. She explores sport as a tool for growth, how important it is to embrace vulnerability, and also she demonstrates sport's potential for massive impact. By the end, she shows us when to be strong, and most importantly, when not to be. Now, if you like this triumphant tale of a woman navigating elite football, you'll probably also like What It Takes by Serena Wiegmann.